And the last challenge I'll mention is climate change, because that is something that's happening here. And I think having a candidate from the Midwest who can uniquely talk about what we're seeing in the northern states is really important, because we know we see rising sea levels, and you can see the effect it has on the oyster and lobster fishing industry. You can see what's happened down in Florida. You can see what's happened in California, and perhaps the best 1-minute way to look at this is a video of the guy driving his daughter out of Paradise, their neighborhood in flames behind them, and the flames are lapping over their car, and he is singing to her to calm her down as she is scared. That video says it all. But we also know, as we look to get our neighbors part of this solution, the case we have to make. We have to make the case about loons. That's a state bird in Minnesota. Loons and moose in New Hampshire. We have to make the case about sugar maples, right? And what this could have, the effect on tourism, which is so important to the economy in New Hampshire. We have to make the case about homeowners insurance and how we're seeing rising rates, so we tie it into our economy. And then we give a very straightforward solution. On day one, I will get us back into the International Climate Change Agreement. When this president took us out of that agreement, only Syria and Nicaragua were not part of that agreement. They have now gotten into that agreement. On day two, bring back something that the Obama administration negotiated over the years, the Clean Power Rules. And you can do that without Congress. On day three, bring back the gas mileage standard, something the car companies actually wanted to do, and we can bring that back nationally. On day 4, 5, and 6, we will introduce sweeping legislation to get at the price on carbon and energy efficiency, something your great Senator Jeanne Shaheen has worked on for years. And then on day 7, we will rest. No, we won't. I just thought that sounded good. So, there's a lot of things we got to do. Among other things, we will build a fridge to the next century. That's a bad climate change joke. Okay, but here's the key to this. It is not just about numbers. It is not just about numbers. Because the way we do this, we've got to make sure that people, especially in our northern states, are basically held harmless when it comes to things like their heating bills. And that people who are in areas of the country that are a lot of places are going to see new jobs, exciting things, segue of technology for the country when it comes to climate change. But a lot of areas are going to see changes and shifts in those jobs. So we have to make sure that we are investing in those areas. And that bill has to be airtight, because otherwise it'll be bad policy if it makes it harder for people to afford things. It'll be bad policy if we lose jobs in a big way in certain areas of the country without replacing them. And it mostly will be bad politics. We're not going to be able to pass it. So I want to promise you this. I look at this not just with my head and the numbers and what we know are out there, but also from my heart. When I told you that story of my grandpa, the mines in northern Minnesota, kind of like what Berlin saw in northern New Hampshire, those mines, they open and close. Devastating effects. They're open right now because we worked so hard on steel dumping from China, and we've gotten them open again. Also, we brought in other new industries and things like that. The hardworking people in northern Minnesota did that. But I was able to see the worst of times. And I remember with my dad driving out of Duluth, and they had a billboard up, and it said, "Last one to leave, turn off the lights." We can't let that happen. And so I just want you to know, when I talk about this, it might be a little different than some of the other candidates, because I believe in it so strongly. But at the same time, I want to get it done, because I don't think that we can wait another year to get it done. And I think there is a way to bring people with us on this issue. And that's how we're going to do it. So the last thing I want to tell you is I spent a lot of time in that impeachment hearing bolted to my desk thinking, we went to like 11 p.m., midnight, several nights. You get so bleary-eyed. I started, and we were talking about the Founding Fathers. I literally started to look at some of my male colleagues and thought they looked like a Founding Father. Like, that actually happened. Like, his hair looks like a Founding Father. But anyway, in the middle of the thing, I had a lot of time to think about Donald Trump. And I'm not going to go into everything and how disappointed I was with the outcome, but how proud I was, the courage that I saw from people like Doug Jones of Alabama, who is facing this hard race, and he did the right thing, and he didn't just shy away and cast a vote. He spoke out strongly about that you don't put your private interests in front of the interests of our country. Or the courage and conviction of Mitt Romney, who is willing to do this. It was an amazing thing. And by the way, we know the world is upside down when a Democratic rally is cheering for the former Republican presidential candidate. But there is value in that. That is a good thing. That is a good thing because it shows that we can reach out, and it shows that their people are thinking of all parties about what's happening here. And so as I sat there and thought about their courage, I thought about this president. And what I finally realized there, it's pretty simple, is that he lacks empathy. He cannot put himself in the shoes of other people because he only thinks about himself. And then I thought of that old story of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He was so beloved. And when he died, they put his body on a train, and the train went from Georgia to Washington, D.C. And people spontaneously lined the train tracks to show their respect. And there was a reporter that looked at a guy who was standing by the tracks who was sobbing. He had his hat on his chest. And the reporter says to the guy, "Sir, did you know President Roosevelt?" And the guy says, "No, I didn't know President Roosevelt, but he knew me. He knew me." That is empathy. That is the sacred trust that I promise you I will restore between the people of this country and the leader in the White House. That is what we're talking about here. And I'm telling you, if you have trouble deciding if you're going to pay for the long-term care for your aging parents or child care for your kids, I know you, and I will fight for you. If you can't decide if you're going to fill your refrigerator or fill your prescription drug, I know you, and I will fight for you. If you don't know if you can make that paycheck extend a little bit more to pay for your rent, I know you, and I will fight for you. That is what this election is about. That is what this is about.